water. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to drag it. So he'll know, and we'll just, I say, hey, thank you for, tuning in. We'll know I was at your wedding. I remember.
Now enjoy the show.
If
The
you
Voice
had your father-in-law, he
17104,
visited my
a
neighborhood
station
home,
for
they stole his
everyone.
car.
Welcome to
Twice.
Did You Know? Podcast, your host, Richard Utley, dedicated to the African American viewers. The program is aimed to celebrate African American culture and deal with the real and relevant topics that impact the everyday lives of the African American community through frank and insightful dialogue with local and national influencers. Every day, there is another horrible, discouraging news story, directly or indirectly, impacting African Americans. But we need to look at the shining stars in the galaxy of Black America. It is time to tell our story.
Welcome to another Did You Know? Well, we got a very interesting program that I think that hopefully that this program will put some light and shed some things on in terms of health, especially in our community. But before we get there, let me deal with a few things. I keep saying that we have to look out for our own community. And each day, each week, it becomes much more important that we do that. So we're going to have to step up to our communities. I've been saying to you before, because nobody's going to look out for our community like we're going to look out for our community. And so I think a lot of energy that we spend negative in terms of saying what we can't do or why we don't do, that we need to figure out a way of doing it. I think that we have to start now building different kinds of relationships in order for us to survive as a community and as a people. I think now that it's time for us to reach out to the churches, the community centers, fraternities, sororities, schools, to put together a program to start to develop the Black community sort of the way it used to be. I know it's not going to be the way it used to be way back, because a lot of things have changed. So now we're going to have to step up the game of entrepreneurship. We're going to have to step up in terms of our political education. We can no longer sit back and say, I don't care, my vote don't count, they don't pay no attention to me. I'm telling you, we need to find people that are committed to us and running for office. And if they support what we believe in, then we should support them. We should support them with voting, but we should also support them with money. And as you can see, money is going to become a very key issue, because right before the Supreme Court, as I speak to you now, they're going to take a look at campaign financing. In some states, and especially in feds, there is a limit of how much a person can raise and spend. Well, the Supreme Court is looking at it saying, we don't need that. Hopefully they won't rule that way, but based on the concept of the Supreme Court at this time being so conservative, they may say, who cares? Which means the person who gets the most money might be the one that wins. There's nothing to be about qualifications, may not be about vested interest, it may end up being about money. So we need to start putting those things in places, looking out for what we need to do. The other thing that I will bring up to you is that you better start making sure that we hold everybody accountable. Because if we don't, you can see what happens. Just like I brought up to you in my last program, and I said we keep arguing over voter registration and voter ID. And I told you we're spending all this time fighting it. Folks, it's going to happen. So we might as well develop a plan to make sure that we can get people registered to vote, because we got some critical issues coming up. Next year we got some senators up, we got some congressmen up, we got some state reps, some state senators, and we got the governor's race coming up. We need to take a long look at who we're going to support, because we can't sit on the sidelines anymore. Sorry folks, we can't. Because if we sit on the sidelines, it's a disservice, not only to you, but it's a disservice to the young people that are coming behind us. Remember, we just didn't get here. A lot of people did a lot of things for us, and it's time for us to step up like they did, our forefathers. That's why I always tell you it's very important to know your history, because if you know your history, that you will find out a lot of people played a major role in our whole development. And I'm not talking about the famous ones. That's why it's important for you to find out in your own community, in your own neighborhood, in your own church. You will find there's many, many leaders that you did not know existed. And we need to pay them respect, and we need to pay them homage. Well, the other thing is that we see what's going on in terms of ISIS. You know, ISIS has been terrorizing children and their families. Honest working people who have been doing work in this country for many years are being uprooted. Black history is even being forbidden. When will it stop, and who is next for whatever? It could be you or me if we don't fight against a lot of actions that's taking place. So I'm just telling you, you better be aware of what's going on in front of you. You know, as I've always told you, I believe in history, and I think we need to do our history, and that's why I believe in telling about history. But I have to say, it's just your responsibility to tell people history. It's your responsibility. So don't read everything. Do your research. Read it. Find out. Find out who the legacy of some of these people are. I mean, you know, it's easy for me to tell you certain kinds of things, but I want you to do your own research. So I'm going to bring up 3 people that I always bring up each program. These are people that I want you to be familiar with. You know, I said I was going to bring all kinds of people up. So maybe you want to find out who Jimi Hendrix is. He's somebody. Find out who he is. I don't want to make it always difficult, but he was a musician, a songwriter. But you can find out who he is. Because a lot of you who want to play guitars, guess what? He was one of the greatest guitarists. And we need to know that. And kids need to know that. And here we have another one. Here he is again. You know, she's a novelist, she's a writer. Read about her, find out who she is. And why do I put these things up? Because there are people out there that could be doing the same thing. So I hope some of you, when you look at what I put up, you see a reflection of yourself there. Because that's part of what I want to do. Did you know? Aretha Franklin, some of you know who she is, some of you don't. But find out who these people are, because you may be the next Aretha Franklin. And I think that's very important. Well, and Jesse Jackson. You know, a lot of people know Jesse Jackson's an activist, he's political, and a lot of people remember him Keep Hope Alive. But we need some more Jesse Jacksons out there. We need some more leaders out there. We need some more great guitar players out there. Some great singers out there. Some great novelists. And we need to tell our story. That's why I have Did You Know? Because I want us to define and tell who our story is. So in saying all that, I just hope, I really hope that we do a better job in our community. I just hope that when you see young people, older people, say hi to them. How you doing? Have a good day. And vice versa. Young people, if you see older people, say good afternoon, good morning, how you doing? We don't have a choice but now to start to build our relationship as a people. And if you think what I'm telling you don't make any sense, then you just keep watching the news, or you just keep watching what happens in your community, and you'll see I'm right. Well, what would I have on my program today? This is going to be a very different program today. The program that I'm going to have today, I have a young man that I have on today, and his name is Gerald Cameron, and we're going to talk about kidney donations. And why are we going to talk about kidney donations? You will find out why. But before I bring him on, I'm going to bring on his Facebook page.
I'm a husband, a father, a special education teacher, and a coach. My passion has always been to help students grow in the classroom as on the field. Unfortunately, my life has taken a difficult turn. I've had to stop coaching, and I'm unable to be as present with my own children because I am sick and in urgent need of a kidney transplant. In 11th grade, I was diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune disease that attacked my kidneys. After graduating high school, I had to start dialysis and received my first transplant in 2009, which gave me a new lease on life for 13 years. Having been so sick for so long, I didn't take one moment for granted. I started a family, got a master's degree, and worked a full-time job. For the past 3 years, I've been back on dialysis 5 days a week just to stay alive. It takes a big toll on my body. It's exhausting, it's painful, and some days it's extremely hard just to get out of bed. I don't think I hurt for myself. I think if I was by myself, I would be able to deal with it, but my kids, wife, sometimes I feel like crap because I can't really, give my kids a normal hug goodnight. They got to come in and give me a hug while I'm hooked up to tubes and blood's being drained from my body. The gift of life from a living kidney donor would give me the health, energy, and clarity to be myself again, to laugh with my wife, to goof around with my kids.
I have this closet here in my office where I hold clothes for students who don't have.
To help the children that I work with every day reach their full potential. I am only 40 years old, and there's still so much that I want to accomplish in this life. I know that donating a kidney is a big ask, but it would save my life. I would be so grateful if you would share my story. Thank you.
Well, I have Gerald Cameron here beside me. And before we really get into that, I want him to tell you who he is. I want him to tell you who he is as a person. And then we're going to get into this whole kidney thing. And I think you'll get a different perspective from two people. You're going to get a perspective from him. But you're going to be very shocked today because you're going to get a perspective from me. Please tell who you are.
My name is Gerald Cameron. As the video said, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an educator. I love helping kids. It's been a passion of mine ever since I graduated high school. I like helping my people. So that's the gist of that.
So, where'd you go to school at? Where'd you go to college at? What you majored in? And
So I went to John Harris High School. Graduated from William Penn from Votech. After high school, I didn't take a normal college route. I went to Kaplan Career Institute out on Derry Street. got my associate's degree in criminal justice. Originally, when I wanted to help kids, I said, I got to get into like juvenile justice, probation, placements, juvenile prisons, and help students that way. And once I got into that, I realized that that wasn't where I wanted to help them at. I wanted to help them before they got to that point. So I went back to school, got my bachelor's degree, worked in education for a little bit and just didn't feel like the right fit. So I got frustrated and I left, and I worked for Social Security for about 3 years. And then a job opportunity came open at my alma mater, and I took it, and I've been there ever since. I've been with John Harris High School for 8 years as a special education teacher on the 9th grade floor.
Okay, and you also, or as a coach as well, right?
Yes. So a lot of people, when they hear coach and the first thing they think of is older kids, high school and stuff like that. But no, I like coaching the little kids. So I like teaching the older kids, but I like coaching the younger kids. So I coached the Smurfs for Harrisburg for about 3 years, and just the toll that the treatment was taking on my body, I had to put that on the back burner for the time being.
And I think that's very interesting because you're a person who wants to give back. And because you want to give back, and like you said, you deal with young people as well as older people. So you're really building a foundation in both levels. And I must admit to you, sometimes, based on what I know, teaching can be tough.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, I know that. And coaching can be tough for a lot of reasons, I know that as well. I brought you on this program because of 2 reasons. One, to allow you to tell your story, but as well as for people to understand. I have a lot of friends that are on dialysis. I have friends that go Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I have some that go other times. I have some that have to make arrangements if they want to go on vacation and go those things. So I know they're very hard. But the other reason why I want to bring you on, a lot of times we don't think about these things because it don't affect us. And when it don't affect us, we hear about it, but it don't touch us. Like I said, I have a lot of friends that are going through dialysis, looking for a kidney transplant, and the difficulty of getting those things. But today, and I made a decision on earlier today, is that I do understand. And I would admit I probably was not overly sensitive to it because it didn't affect me. I was aware of people. I saw out there that people said about kidneys and kidney donate, things of that nature. But it didn't hit me till I started having friends that was going through it. So I kind of knew about it, but guess what? It hit me in the face. My sister was on dialysis. My sister was on dialysis many years. And I would admit, this whole thing about donating, when I was first approached by my own sister, I thought about it. I had to think about it. I was like, you want me to donate my kidney? I'm being honest with you folks. And I went, that's my sister. I got to do what I got to do. I was willing to do it, only to be told I couldn't for my age and a lot of other things. And then she has children, and sometimes we don't realize this. Sometimes our families are affected because of some of the things that's already in their life. Could be diabetes, high blood pressure. They could have had asthma so bad. So it could be a lot of things. So then you're out there putting yourself out there saying, I need a kidney. So I'm glad he came on to tell the story about what he needs. And I hope today that you will look at it different, you will talk about it different, and you will understand it a little different. I will say this, that my sister did it every night. And she kept looking for a kidney. I saw the highs. I saw the lows. I saw the emotional, the ups and downs. Unfortunately, my sister did not make it. April, she passed away. And so I probably realized it more, that we got to do a better job of educating our community in things that affect us or might affect us. But we're in this together. You hear it all the time. Our community is a family. Well, guess what? There's many things that we need to be a family about. And this is one of them. So, would you explain to my audience, and I'm only saying this to you to show you, early on when it didn't really affect me, I'll be honest, I was like, oh, he's on kidneys. I had friends that were going. But we need to do a better job of understanding that. And so tell us, what is a living kidney donation? What is that about, based on your thoughts and experience?
Well, basically, you go and, be tested and everything, and then after you get tested, then they would go ahead and determine whether or not that you're a valuable donor. And if you are a valuable donor, then, you could donate to a friend, a relative, a total stranger. But to me, I mean, I can't speak for any other donors, but for me, I mean, it would be an amazing gift. As you heard in the video, my first kidney only lasted 13 years. The reason why is because it was a cadaver kidney. Cadaver kidney is when someone passes away, and their family decides to donate their organs. So I got those transplanted into me, and after they transplanted them, they told me, hey, these kidneys could probably only last for like 10 to 12 years. So mine lasted 13, so it lasted just a little bit longer than it's supposed to. But a living donor, they say those kidneys last significantly longer. I've heard different numbers. I've heard 25 years. I've heard 30 years. I actually know of a person who's had his living donor kidney for almost 40 years. So the living donor kidneys, they last a lot longer. They're healthier. They don't have to go through as much stress. When it comes time for donation, your body, when you pass away, your body's going through a lot of stress. Your heart, your blood stops flowing through your body, brain function ceases and all that. So the body goes through a lot of stress, when you're donating organs, when you pass away. So those organs last less time than living donors do.
I'm going to bring up some statistics here to show you, to my audience here. When we talk about the African American community, there's a lot of reasons why we don't participate in donorship. And a lot of it's economics, a lot of it's mistrust. So we have to do a better job in health overall. There's no question. Not just kidneys, high blood pressure, diabetes, and things of that nature. we got to do a lot better educating before, in the middle, and after. And so I'm friends with Phyllis Hicks, who runs the Central Pennsylvania Kidney Program. I am going to bring her on and talk about some things. And I'd like for you all to just look at it in terms of, here it is, here, the Kidney Foundation. You can probably see it over on that side. Here it is here. Just do your research. People, let's let the Kidney Foundation, and we have to do our part as well. We have to do our part as a community. We have to do our part as a race, but at the same time, we need to do our part in terms of other things that we do or that we don't do. The other issue is, can we bring up the statistics that I have?
Yes, sir. I believe we have just a few.
A few, and please read them if you don't mind.
Yes, sir, and it's concerning the disparities.
Yes.
With African Americans. This is just a quick AI overview, Mr. Utley. African Americans face significant disparities in kidney transplantation, experiencing higher rates of end-stage kidney disease, but lower rates of living donor kidney transplants compared to Caucasian individuals. Just a quick detailed breakdown, Mr. Utley. There's higher incidence of kidney failure amongst African Americans, and it says African Americans are disproportionately affected by end-stage kidney disease, with rates significantly higher of those of Caucasian or white individuals. Lower living donor transplant rates. Despite the higher need, African Americans are less likely to receive living donor kidney transplants compared to other counterparts. There's longer wait times, Mr. Utley. African American patients tend to wait longer for deceased donor transplants, partly due to historical biases in kidney function, estimation, and other factors. And one more here, Mr. Utley. Lower overall transplant rates. Consequently, the overall rate of kidney transplantation for African Americans is lower than for white individuals. And again, Mr. Utley, that's just a brief overview of the disparities in the African American community, sir.
And
Sure.
if you don't mind,
Sure.
I touching on the wait times. When I first got diagnosed, I started dialysis the week I graduated high school, and I graduated high school in 2004, and I didn't get my first kidney transplant until December 2005. So I was on dialysis for over 5 years, before I actually got a transplant. So, that's a long time for somebody who's, just graduating high school to have to be on dialysis. That's a long time for anybody, whether or not it's somebody graduating high school or it's somebody, who has a family and is living their everyday life. That's a long time. 5 years is a very long time.
Would you say that one of the problems is we need to do a better job of educating people about transplants, about giving, about becoming a donor? Do you think that we need to do a better job in terms of our community and telling our story?
Most definitely, because every one of my friends who I've talked to about it, they're like, man, I can't do that. Man, I can't live with only one kidney, and I don't want them going in and taking something else out. And I've heard so many different stories that there's actually no credibility to, but they they believe that this stuff is real. I was also told that by my doctors, and I've told many of my friends this: if your kidneys are going to fail, not one is going to fail and the other one doesn't. If your kidneys are going to fail, both of them are going to fail together. It's like 99% of the time they're going to fail together. Now, if you were a donor, if you donated a kidney and you did have kidney problems and you needed to go on the kidney transplant list, because you were already a donor, you would get pushed to the top of the list. So, I mean, these are things that we don't know. These are things that the information that we in the black community don't get. So, we're like, yeah, that's my friend, that's my family member, but, I don't think that's something that I could really do.
And I admit it. I admit it on this program. When my sister first called me, and she said, "Hey, I got to get a kidney, and I got to do such and such." And first thing I said, "Well, where you gonna get a kidney?" She said, "Well, somebody got donated." She said, "We're looking for donors." I said, "Oh, okay." And for a match. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Who the first group?" And she said, "Well, I look at my family." I said, "Your family?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "You referring to me as well?" And she said, "Yeah." And I went, I went, "Same thing. You want me to give my kidney?" And said, "Well, you can use one kidney to function. You don't have to have two." And I went, "Okay." And it took, when she first said it, I didn't say yeah. I took a minute. I'm admitting on this, I took a minute. I went, Something said. I said, "You're my sister." I said, "You're my sister." I said, "I'll take the test, I'll do the matches, I'll do whatever is needed necessary." And at the same time of saying that, I said, "Well, you got a son, you got daughters, you got grandkids. I named everybody. I probably named everybody in my family." And she said, "Yes, I got, my son is testing out, and blah, blah this, and blah, blah that, and so I said, I admit, it took me a minute. I did say yes, but I didn't say yes the very first second. I'm being honest with you. She said, I was like, kidney? Then I said, yes, I would do it because you're my sister, and I would do it, and I would have done it had they accepted me to do it. But my point is that we don't think about those things if it don't directly affect us. So I'm saying we need to think about it, whether it affects us or don't affect us, because we need to step up to the plate. I would admit to you what I know now. I would probably give a kidney to anyone. I mean, my sister brought it to my attention, but if I could probably help somebody else to live a little longer, I would probably do that. What are some of the things that else that you think our audience needs to know about you, but not only about you, but the plight of what you're going through and what people should know?
Dialysis is hard on the body. There's a lot of, I used to go 3 days a week, and you're talking about, for example, you have healthy kidneys, and your kidneys, they flush out toxins in your body, so you urinate those out. So you pee, 5-6 times a day. Well, if I can't urinate, all of that fluid has to be removed from my body through dialysis. And if I'm only going 3 days a week, you're talking about, anywhere from 2 to 3 liters of fluid being removed from your body in a 3-hour period of time. Now, fortunately, I just switched to hemo nocturnal, where I do my dialysis at night. I do it 6.5 hours at night, you know, and it drains all the fluid off. I do it 6.5 hours, 5 days a week, which is better than doing it 3 days a week, but it's still it's still difficult on the body. You know, it's hard on the heart. It causes muscle cramps, causes brain fog, fatigue. There's sometimes my coworkers will make fun of me all the time. You know, when I don't have kids in my room, I'll end up falling asleep, passed out, and they'll come in and I'm in my room knocked out. But it's very trying. It's physically trying on the body, but it's also mentally trying. You know, especially for somebody like me. I have kids. Like I said, I used to be very active with my kids, and you know, now it's like, you know, I'm fatigued all the time. You know, kids, Dad, come outside, play football with us, and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. You know, there's sometimes my wife has to slap me to wake me up, you know, just to get me to, you know, be awake. So
I'm glad that I brought you on this program to tell this story, because, you know, as I shared, my sister did it at night.
Mm-hmm.
She would plug it in and go to sleep and watch, like you said. And as time progressed on, and she was looking for a kidney and all that, and she got tired, I would call her, because she lived in Pittsburgh, that's where she lives at, and I'd call her and say, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. What you gonna do? I'm tired. You know, that whole progression of tiredness as well as mental.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were days that I could tell that I wanted to give up. And you can't give up. And I don't want you to give up, but I also want us to step up to give people hope. We have to give people hope. And not only in dialysis, and not only in kidneys, but a lot of other things. You know, and we don't want to sign up. We're afraid. We don't want to sign up if something happened to us and they can go in, as you said, a cadaver or something, and hopefully they can take the kidney and give it to someone else. And so I'm recommending we need to do a better job, and a lot of you need to look at the Central Pennsylvania cancer. I mean the dialysis, I'm sorry. We need to look at those things. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be kidneys, heart. We got a whole lot of things that we need to look at, but we don't look at them. For whatever reason, and I do understand. Because health, back in the day, we never felt comfortable with health. And so, I know people, you know people in the audience, we know people that don't want to go to the doctor, don't never go to the doctor. They go to the doctor at the end. Doctor said, oh, if you came here 2 weeks ago, you probably would have lived 5 more years, but since you came here today, you're going to leave here tomorrow.
Wow.
We have to step up to the plate. So we have to do those things. We have to look at blood pressure. We have to look at diabetes. We have to look at those things. And some of it is hereditary. Some of it, there's nothing that you can do about it. You know, whether it's diabetes, you know, whether you're pre-diabetic. You know, my father had some diabetes. My mother had some diabetes. Apparently my sister had some. And so I'm in that category saying, you're pre. You know, you probably going, my doctor said you're probably going to get it, but hopefully not at the level if you do certain kinds of things, what you eat, what you drink, all those kinds of things. And so, and I do realize this, all those Mountain Dews, all those cookies, all that candy that I ate, all I did as a kid, because we didn't eat healthy. We didn't eat healthy. We ate something. And so I think what we got to start doing is start looking at our health. And health is very critical into our community. That's why it's important that kids in school get nourishment, senior citizens get nourishment. So we got to make sure that people are getting fed properly and nutritious. Because all of you know this, I don't have to tell you. In most urban communities, there are very few stores that sell fresh fruit, vegetables, things that are fresh. And most of the stuff that we eat is very processed. And so we got to do a better job. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, how do they do that? You know, there may be somebody out there to say, so what should they do? Not only for you, but there's a lot of you out there. So what should they do to even think about it or get some research on it?
You can always call the UPM, the facility that I go to, UPMC Harrisburg. If you just want to ask some questions, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind answering questions. I call with questions all the time. So I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have a problem answering questions. So UPMC Harrisburg, contact the transplant team there.
And we have the kidney.
And the
could
Kidney
you bring
Foundation.
that back up, the kidney
Yes,
thing, so you guys can see it again. Those of you can just go ahead and Google. You can Google it. It'll come up for you. We Google a lot of other things, so we can Google the Kidney Foundation of Central Pennsylvania. I know the person that runs it. She's very caring. She's very passionate. And we got to do our job. Let me ask you this. If I gave you 5 minutes and said to you, what do you really want to tell my audience? What would you tell them?
It's not as scary as you think it is. And on top of that, you'll also be saving somebody's life. If not me, there's other people out there. Some people, maybe your friends, maybe your family, some people you probably don't even realize that you see every day. But we as a community have the most people on dialysis, but we donate the least. And that right there that's a problem. That's a serious problem.
Would you repeat what you said? And the reason I want you to repeat what you said, I know of at least 8 or 9 or 10 people that are on dialysis. I know 8 or 9 people. Some I said go Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Some Tuesdays and whatever, Thursdays and Saturdays. I know some that said, I want to go on vacation. And then they have to say they want to go to Florida, to Disneyland, or whatever. They have to make arrangements. And if I'm correct, they have to make arrangements to get that treatment there. Is that right?
Yeah, so I do mine at home. So I had, my wife and I went to Texas last summer, and I had to take that machine with me. Whew. Trying to get that machine through security and everything, man, that was a hassle. That machine weighs probably about a good 120 pounds. So, here I am with my luggage, my wife's luggage, and then here I am dragging this 120-pound machine. Now, that's just the machine. That's not talking about the tubes, the saline bags, the syringes, the liquid that comes with it that actually helps remove the fluid. There's so much that has to go with it to actually travel. So, at this point, my wife and I were just like, it was so difficult for us to travel to Texas. We were like, we're just gonna put traveling on hold for a little bit, unless it's something that's extremely necessary. We're gonna put it on hold and until you get a transplant.
Well, the fact that I know what you're talking about based on my sister, based on her getting tired, based on her every day, seeing the machine, having her grandson move the liquid out, moving the liquid out and stuff. So it can be hard, it can be taxing. I hope that this program today give people some perspective, but not only give you some perspective, but you hear it from somebody that you know, that kind of know, and guess what? He might be related to you, just don't know. He might be. But it's more than that. We have to do a better job in health. And we hear about health disparities all the time. And believe me, there is out there, and I know it's out there. You know, that's probably one of the reasons why I spent 20 years on Hamilton Health, which is a federal funded healthcare system. And right now we're in a very critical era in terms of whether we're going to get funded, not get funded. But we have to do a better job ourselves. So I'm hoping that this program today gave you a little insight of someone that you can put a face to. Because sometimes you see commercials and we see things, but there's no connect. Like I said, there was no connect to me until I started having a lot of friends that's on dialysis. But what he just said to you is very interesting. I'm willing to bet that most of us, especially in the minority community, has somebody that's on dialysis, whether it's a family member, a friend, or somebody you just happen to know. I'm pretty sure of that. So in saying all that, I'm going to say we need to get more involved, get more information out there. Because remember what he just said. We are the volunteer in terms of giving up our kidneys or whatever. But yet, when you drive past all of these dialysis centers, there's a lot of us that go to those centers. And I'm going to throw something else out there. It's the curveball I'm going to throw. You do know, folks, a lot of these dialysis centers out there is about making money. And we need to make sure that the quality of care, the quality of treatment. I was watching something on TV actually last week, and they were talking about all of these dialysis centers popping up all over, and they were all profitable, and the quality of care, and what Medicaid is going to do it, Medicare is going to do it, all those things. So we're going to have to become watchdogs and make sure that the quality of care that we get in these centers is not just about because you think poor folks go and nobody care. Because all of us should care. And the reason all of us should care, you know why? Because it could be you or I. And I'm going to leave you on that today. I want you to think about it. Is there anything else you would like to say to my audience? Please do.
No, I would just like to say thank you guys for hearing my story. Thank you guys for listening. I hope this gives you guys something to think about. And if not for me, go out and be tested for your friend, your neighbor, your family member, somebody, so that we can lower these statistics of us being the largest number of people on, but the lowest number of people to give.
We're going to leave on that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. So thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you for joining the Richard Utley Show on The Voice 17104. We will be here on The Voice 17104 every first and third Tuesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Once again, thanks for viewing. Remember to visit